Welcome to Network Today. I'm Cheryl Powers.
I'm Rob Bliss.
And we're here to take you from meeting people to
making money.
Yes, we're here to help you shorten that long game. Get to the money
man.
fast. That's right. So
I want to go to the bank with a deposit.
That's right. Well, in today's episode speaks to how you can shorten that long game through drip campaigns. So
I'm a firm believer in this, Cheryl.
I know, because you know what's so funny that we're talking about this, and really the title of the episode is Drip Don't Drown. Right? So just
I love that. I love that title.
I do too.
Drip Don't Drown.
We must have had a moment. So just last night, remember you were speaking to the mid-market professionals West? And as we were headed back from Fort Worth, back from the 76 zip code, and you said, hey, you know what? They're all going to be amazed because I'm going to do what?
I'm going to send out today, because I got the list for everybody that attended last night, and they're going to receive a sequence over the next probably 2 to 3 weeks, 5 emails.
Okay. So with that, now we're going to kind of dial back a bit. What does drip mean to you?
Well, to me, drip means an automated campaign.
Okay.
That when we want to reach a certain audience, it's not just a one-time email, because nowadays that doesn't work anymore. You've got to touch people 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times before they respond. And that's what the drip campaigns helps you automate this, so you can do it one time, hit a button, and then in the next 3 weeks, it's all done for you.
Does it have to be email?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just asking. I'm not telling you that I have the answer, but
yes.
I'm just saying, does a drip have to be an email? In today's world, is it just an email?
Well, there are texting's becoming very popular now.
Yeah.
And of course, again, that's one thing being the old guy here, I'm a little slow to that, but yes, I'm using it more often now. But really, I think the focus on this episode is going to be more about the email drip campaigns.
Okay. All right, good. Because I feel like there might be a larger scope to dripping. At least that's how I felt about it. So that's why I wanted to know where you were coming from on this episode.
Come at me. Throw it at me. Throw it at me.
I feel like a drip is any kind of marketing touch point.
Okay.
Or communication touch point. I can't say just marketing, but a communication touch point that is the end result of marketing. Right. So, but it could be, I feel like it could be even LinkedIn messaging or tags, or it could be some other social media component. But anything that you're being kind of pinged on, I feel like that has a message in it, to me feels like a drip. So
no, I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Because now, I'm on the same train you are right now. And I think that kind of fits the subject too then about drip don't drown, because then if you've got 5, 6, 7 different platforms, and then you're throwing 5, 6, 7 emails at, all of a sudden I'm going to start drowning in all this stuff that's coming at my inbox.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, if I have to hear from Rob one more time.
Yeah. So that brings a good point then of maybe we need to be very selective on what platforms we need for our particular audience.
Yeah. And we'll talk about some best practices. I've got a really nice list.
Ooh,
yeah. We're going to talk about some best practices and some cool tools as well, because you have to have a good tool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not just enough just to throw junk out there.
Right. And again, I think the important thing I really want the audience to walk away with is just the fact that we're doing this because it's in the follow-up.
That's right.
That we need to help build our audience, our community.
Yeah. So if you didn't know, drips a really important topic. So I'm glad you tuned in, even if this is by mistake, because it's a really important topic, and it's a tool. It's an arrow in your quiver, right?
Absolutely.
It's just one more.
A very important one.
That's right. So we've got an amazing, super fun guest, super fun guest who recently, just yesterday, had an addition to his family, right?
First grandchild of the family.
That's right, for Mr. Chuck. So we'll talk to Chuck Rogers in a bit. He's our featured guest. If you don't know him, you will get to know him and you will love him. I can assure you.
Yeah.
And before that, we're going to get to our Grand Slam here in just a minute.
A small business is still a business. At Purple Cow Branding, we want to help you execute your greatest visions for your company. Purple Cow works for small businesses that don't have big budgets to spend on their marketing efforts. Inquire now at purplecowbranding.com to be the biggest little guy around. Purple Cow Branding, much more than digital marketing.
Grand Slam time. These are our success stories because we really like to, that's right, start out here because networking can feel like, well, like I'm exhausted, right? I'm exhausted. So we want to perk you up. We want to let you know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. There is gold at the end of that rainbow. So tell us about your Grand Slam of the week.
Man, I had a great one yesterday at Mid-Market West with the 76ers where I gave a presentation on networking. 2 days prior to that, I got an email I got a contact through LinkedIn, message through LinkedIn from an old friend of mine that I probably hadn't seen in a couple of years.
Yeah.
We kind of disconnected because his business took him to another part of the city. And he got back into residential realty and he had a couple of other things. And he moved. So all that kind of stuff. So we kind of disconnected. But he's followed me on LinkedIn. He's liked every once in a while some of my posts. And Randy's just a great guy, great, super guy that I've probably known him for 10, 12 years. And then he sent me a message on LinkedIn saying, hey, I see that you're speaking at Mid-Market Professionals in Fort Worth. Are you still going to be there? So he was confirming. And I said, yes, I am. Oh, that'd be great to see you, Randy. And then he messaged back saying, hey, Rob, I can't make it there, but I'm sending over my newest sales rep. I want him to hear you speak.
Oh, wow.
So, and then, yesterday, do the deal. Isaiah was there. And, I got a chance to meet him and then hook up with him. He's going to be coming into Rob's library for a visit. And so a great new connection. And again, Randy thanked me. And then he's going to make it over to Rob's library as soon as he can. So again, that's what I love about networking. That's why you should, follow up with people, keep them in your database. And that's a good thing, a lead into what we're going to talk about next about drip, email campaigns and so on. Yeah. So it's just a great to hear from Randy, great to help someone new with what, Network Today is all about, of helping these young sales reps learn more about networking. So boom. Knocked it out of the ballpark.
Yes, indeed you did. So I have to say that mine isn't a monetary one necessarily either. It is about connecting. And it was really about the meeting that you and I had today with Robert Hunt.
Oh,
right.
Yes.
And his wife, Kathy. And I just think it's beautiful when you're tired of networking. You're like, oh my gosh, why do I need to go to another event? Why do I need to know another person? Right. This is why. Right. So we're having the conference a couple of weeks ago and we were looking for authors and Robert was one of those right under the radar, right? Last minute entry as one of our authors. I was so thankful to have him there. Nobody Cares is his book.
Right.
So great book. Nobody Cares. And then we scheduled a one-on-one. So we didn't want to just leave it at him attending the conference, although we could have. It was like, let's follow up and have a chat. And we did a dual chat so that Robert came and we had a chat with you and his wife and myself today. And it was so lovely just to see where his heart comes from, to hear the real story behind the story. And it was his friend. Remind me if there was somebody on LinkedIn that I wasn't connected with. Actually, that was the one who referred him in because I thought he knew you.
Tim Dennis.
Yeah, Tim Dennis. Yes. So, I mean, isn't that fascinating though? So, and we had just the best conversation. I've already been able to make an introduction for him with somebody that I think is aligned with the same kind of mindset that he's aligned with.
My mind was just twirling around saying, who can I introduce Robert to? Yeah.
That stuff charges me up. Man. So when I'm tired on a Friday and I'm like, oh, my eyelids, I need little toothpicks to prop the lids up so I can look alive. Then we have these situations that just, we scheduled them, we stick with them, and then beauty comes out of that. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So that was it. So I loved Robert and Kathy. Great meeting you and can't wait for the conversation to continue. So coming up next is our amazing guest,
Mr. Chuck Rogers,
the new grandfather here in DFW. He's so proud of his baby as he should be. And we're going to be talking about Drip, Don't Drown when we come up next.
Are you having trouble with your VoIP phone system? Smart Office USA to the rescue. We're a local company here in DFW with real people, certified technicians, and we even come to your office to help you. Smart Office USA, representing the #1 VoIP phone system on the planet. And we are right here in DFW, ready to help you. Call us 214-272-0921 or go to www.smartofficeusa.com.
Rob, I think we did it.
We got the man himself here in the studio.
We're officially on the map. Why? Because the amazing Chuck Rogers is in the house. I love it.
Boom, boom.
I love it.
Thank you.
That's right.
And I thought you were scraping the bottom of the barrel.
No. And I have to say that you have become the leader of the Purple Cow Branding fan club.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, whether you meant to or
for
not.
For good reason.
I know.
For good reason.
I know.
They do a fantastic job.
Tthank you, sir.
Yeah.
Only real men like Chuck Rogers can do this, right?
What,
Can pull this.
pull off
I
purple?
love it.
That's
I
Northwestern
love it.
Wildcats. That's
I
Northwestern
know.
Wildcats, yeah.
I know. So we'll get into that in just a second.
Okay, all right.
But if you don't know Chuck, I want you to go to LinkedIn right now. Right now. Just type in Chuck, like it sounds. Rogers as in Mr. Right?
Right.
So did you hate that in school?
Never heard that joke before.
I'm sure you haven't. And there's no D in Rogers, by the way. Yeah, it's
That's
just
the way we spell it. Right.
That's right. The way we spell it.
Right.
Who else spells it with a D? Like, what's the D thing?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't?
Rogers?
Rogers.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers.
Oh, there we go. So he's the different Rogers. So you want to connect with him. But what I love about this guy, first, is that he's an Uber networker. He's never met a stranger.
True.
That's right. He might be the stranger of the two, but he never met a stranger, gets to know everybody in the room. He will always make a friend with you and then help you find other friends, right? You're just so good about that.
That's so kind of you to say that.
The other thing I love about him is because I am like this, right? I am a lifetime seller. I like being in sales.
Sure.
That was never a problem for me. People like gloss it over and I'm an account executive, right? I'm like, no, I'm a seller.
Yeah.
Like I sell stuff.
Right.
That's good.
From back in Little League Baseball with selling candy bars. Yeah.
That's right.
Now, what I love about Chuck, though, is, again, and it goes back to the traits of being a great networker that you're sharing, Sheryl, is that Chuck is a guy that follows up with you. He's a guy that performs the rituals of networking where he'll introduce you to people, he'll give you leads, he'll follow up. He makes what we're all trying to achieve through networking. Chuck is the man, the go-to guy.
Thank you.
He is, which is why. So when you go to his LinkedIn profile, you're going to see his experiences, and then you can tap on see all 16 experiences. You have been through it, which is why we thought you were perfect for this topic,
Absolutely.
which is drip, don't drown.
Sure.
Right. So we're all about how to have the best networking drip campaigns because we have to market ourselves to our fellow people, but don't put the tsunami over them with that marketing message. And with that, you said that with Staff Pro, you kind of learned the finesse of that.
Well, yeah, because I had a role prior to this one that was both marketing and sales. And so we used a format called Benchmark. It was kind of like a Chimp Monkey or Survey Monkey, whatever.
Right.
And we would send out a blast to about 8,000 people on about a 60-day basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And go ahead.
no, keep going.
Well, and now, current times, and I do think the sales game has evolved and is going to continue to evolve. I see a lot of, thoughts on cadence and how frequently you should reach out to prospects. And I try to go permission-based. I mean, I might ask you, hey, is it okay if I call you in a couple of weeks? You might say, no, call me in 30 days, and you're going to get a phone call in 30 days.
So so we're talking about fellow networkers, right? So even as a fellow networker, you ask permission to call me or to follow up with me in a certain time period.
Well, if we meet, I'm going to do a LinkedIn connection immediately. And then I'm going to follow up after we connect immediately.
Okay.
And then I might ask you, hey, what's next step? What are your thoughts on next step? Kind of toss it back to them.
Okay.
And that's permission based.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So now let's dial back a little. I want to discuss what dripping means to you. So we have talked already on this show about what it means to us. What does dripping mean to you?
Well, dripping would be, and I'd divide it into certain market segments. I mean, in what I'm dealing with now, custodial, outsourced janitorial, what might work for a light industrial or a manufacturing or a warehouse environment would just be a foreign language to an office environment. So I would craft a message, or I do have messages at the ready to send out on a recurring basis to a medical community or an office community or a light industrial warehouse community.
So even if they're, so in the networking world.
Right.
So as a fellow networker, do you also categorize us based on industry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I think that's critical. That's a great point,
Yeah.
Chuck, because again, like you say, if you do this blast and it goes to someone in an office environment, they're just going to click delete it.
Or you come across as, what is this guy talking about? This doesn't even apply to me.
Right.
That's
So that's a great
and
point.
so I try to personalize those messages, and some of them are obviously boilerplate, but if you can personalize it 3 or 4 times and keep it short and sweet, it's not just boilerplate now. Now it's something that's germane to what they're looking for.
Well, it's the importance of building your different market segments, that it's not just quantity and numbers. You want that quality.
Right.
So it helps you from a prospecting. Therefore, you're touching people that will truly need your service sometime now or in the future.
Right. And a lot of the people we meet or I meet at networking events, they're not facility managers, they're not property managers.
Yeah.
But everybody knows somebody.
That's right. That's right.
And so kind of to wrap your point up, I like to always go back and say, so Sheryl, if there's any way I can help you connect, my connections are open. Mm-hmm. And you're welcome to view them. And if I can give you an introduction to anybody, just ask.
Okay. So you feel that's part of the dripping, is having a conversation with somebody about helping them? So
yeah. And I try to follow up with some one-on-ones on a regular basis. But I don't mean to sound like I'm overdoing it, but getting a lot of connections on LinkedIn, not getting as many one-on-ones, but that's just a numbers game. And so, meeting for coffee, which is my preferred method.
Yeah.
That there's only so many mornings you can do that, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and still do your real job.
That's right.
So those are the higher quality ones. So yeah.
Well, and back to what we were defining drip is. So drip is marketing, right? It's part of the brand.
Right.
And in my opinion, this is just purely me, and y'all chime in, but networking is dripping.
Right.
Right. Part of that, people say, well, I know everybody there. Well, how well do you know them? And you know what? For me, if I know 15 people in your industry, who's the one I'm going to refer to? The one I see the most, probably, right? Sure. So networking is part of that dripping. Then there's the other component, which is the actual, for lack of a better term, advertising too, right? So you might have an email drip campaign. Maybe a text drip. I know Rob and I have discussed this at length. There are people who do text drip campaigns, and then there's a place for all of it.
Absolutely.
Right. But there's a frequency. So now we're talking about the 2 different styles of drips for networkers. Let's go to the electronic part. Mm-hmm. Somebody's emailing you, or they put you on a text drip, and they're a fellow networker. What are some of the things you like the most about what people do there, and what do you not care for? Like, what's a turnoff?
Oh, I would say if it's too frequent, I do
What's
not
too frequent?
I do not want to see something every day from people.
Okay.
And there are some companies, and I've just unsubscribed, where I may attend a webinar. I may go to one of their sites and download how to do emails, or how tips on cold calling.
Right.
And next thing you know, I'm getting buried with 2 and 3 emails a day.
A day.
And that doesn't. Yeah, I don't.
That's a tsunami.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not into that. Yeah.
So what is a good frequency where you're like, hey, I like that. I like that frequency.
I think once a week is acceptable.
I like once a week. I like once a week too.
Once a week. Again, on my cadence, on my internal, it's more like every 2 weeks.
Okay.
But, again, going back to market segmentation, is part of your audience might be once a week, but part of your audience might be only once a month. Part of your audience might be once a quarter.
Yeah.
So, again, it's learning who your market is.
Right.
and then dividing it. So I think it becomes much more effective because again, you don't want to lose even that weekly, month or whatever if it's too much. So by really getting to know who your prospects are, then through market segmentation, the time periods, I think you can become much more effective.
And I think through MailChimp, that was the one you were trying, like MailChimp and Constant Contact, you can set it up like that, right?
Yeah.
So
and I think, permission based, I think there's analytics that are in play. I mean, we happen to use Salesforce, which is really powerful, and it'll tell me open rates. So if I go to we call them leads, but individual or contact
people,
and if they have not opened my last 2 or 3 emails, I'm going to get on the phone and ask them and verify, it's going to the right email, and try to craft a message that at least get read.
Yeah.
But that's
or make that touch point.
Yeah, that's a great part of automation. It gives you the statistics of the people that aren't opening, gives you another opportunity through phone call to do that.
Right. Now, I've got to do that manually on each one. I remember Benchmark I could go to a site and see what my open rates were. Yeah, but
that's what's so smart about the way you do it, and he's just so likable. He's just so darn likable that I know when you pick up the phone, you're like, "Hey, Sheryl, I haven't heard from you. I'm looking, and I haven't seen you open anything since April 2021. Is everything okay? Let's catch up." I mean,
what I say wrong?
That's right. That's right. But I think
you can disarm with humor a lot of times.
You can, and I think that's a really great point that I hadn't even thought about, is picking up the phone and checking in with somebody. I just feel like if they aren't opening it, hey, there's no interest and they're dropping off.
To be clear, none of my competitors are allowed to listen to this, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Huh?
That's right, Chuck.
Okay.
Okay.
That's right, Chuck.
That is right. So how do you feel about texts? About being on a text campaign?
I'm not really on board with that.
Okay.
I will only do that after I've established the contact and I've asked that person, hey, you okay with me texting you? Yeah.
Okay.
Now, some people prefer it.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Once we've established that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that starts to get a little invasive.
That's exactly the word I was going to use. Yeah. I love text. I'm very texty. But if I'm just on this drip campaign, I'm being dripped on through text over and over again, I feel like, oh my, I really feel over invaded. So I do feel like drip is probably more appropriate for social media, for emails, for sure. And then let's kind of leave the text for something that's personal.
Right.
So that's good. Rob, thoughts?
Well, again, I think it goes back to planning your marketing. It's everything, whether it's email, whether it's texting, it has a purpose, and you got to find out who the audience is. And I like what Chuck said earlier, getting permission. So again, once you get to know the prospect, what do you prefer? Do you prefer to receive through email or text?
We actually have a box on our Salesforce CRM that says preferred communication method.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
it
great.
even goes so far as to say best time to call.
That's perfect.
And the people I'm dealing with, they are really busy. I mean, facility managers, property managers, they got a lot of balls in the air, and they're juggling all these different tasks and things to do. And, I'm an early riser, so if somebody needs a call at 7 a.m., that's not a problem.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I love this. So hopefully you've learned some great things, some insight into we're almost done. Can you believe how fast that goes?
That was quick. Yeah.
I know.
Hey, before we go, can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
So I just want to thank both of you for everything that you do for our community, our sales community, our business community. I mean, this networking thing is it's not easy. I made the big switch into a whole new industry post-pandemic. And, you two have really welcomed me into that. You've embraced me, and I really appreciate that. So thank you both for what you do and all the things that are going to happen out of this.
Well, great.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
This is why we do it, is because we build friendships that I would never have had otherwise.
Right.
If I were still just working from my home looking at my laptop, I would have never met the
See,
great...
we're humans. We got to have humans.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure, again, connect on LinkedIn with Chuck. He's with executive management, right? So, and he's like, commercial janitorial.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. He's not afraid to knock on doors, meet people. So this is the type of person you want in your life. He really brings a new good flavor, and you drip all across the Metroplex. It's just freaking amazing.
Well, I'm in the state of Texas, but I'm primarily focused on Dallas. and then we're going to branch out a little bit more. But yeah, we're making it happen.
That's right. So other than Northwestern being your
Northwestern Wildcats, yeah, don't talk about our football team, please.
That's right.
Not this year.
Well, hey, my husband's a Sooner, so yeah, I'm right there with you.
Okay, all right. It's a down year. Yeah.
It's a blip.
We'll come back, though.
That's right. Okay, so a little known fact about yourself that Rob and I would go, oh my goodness gracious.
Well, I played football at Northwestern.
Okay.
And I played in a game, and we set a record that will never be broken. We played in an NCAA football game, set a record, and this record will never be broken.
Okay. What's the record?
Fewest points scored. It was a 0-0 tie against Illinois.
Oh my gosh.
In September, I think 16th of 1978.
September 16th, 1978. 0-0.
0-0 tie.
Because it can't get any lower.
What was it?
Fewest points scored. Break that. You can't break the record.
20 below zero that day?
No. It was 116 on the field, and it was. Oh God!
Oh my gosh!
Can I say hell on earth? I mean,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It was brutally hot.
Wow.
And, we just weren't very good, and neither was Illinois, and we couldn't score a touchdown.
0-0.
That's right.
Well, at least you go down the books.
I love that.
You'll never break that record.
Never break the record.
They've got overtime now, and I guess they can still have ties, but yeah. But you can't get fewer than 0. So I think there's 3 teams that's happened.
Well, congratulations,
and thank me later for all the bets you win.
That's right. That's right.
Little known trivia fact, right?
You want to get to know Chuck. You can see he's a character. Amazing guy. Your new BFF, right?
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
all right. And we thank you for being here, Chuck. Chuck is so delightful. I just dig being around him. You know when you have those really bad days and you need to be around the person
Well, he's the guy. Like I said earlier, when I go to a networking event, I love just going to Chuck and seeing how he's doing, and he just takes over the conversation. He makes you feel so good. He's so positive. I love the guy.
Yeah. And he takes over the conversation always in a really encouraging way.
Yes.
Right? With
absolutely.
His big old Northwestern smile. So there you go. So I want to know on the drip, don't drown topic, what did he hit on that you're like, that was kind of an aha moment for you?
Well, I think the big thing that they hit on was the permission-based.
Okay.
I kind of been one of those guys that just tries to add to the list and get my list to be really, really big. And then when he kind of, and he talked quite a bit about it, and it just makes so much more sense because, again, it's not building the list with big numbers, it's building the quality.
Yeah.
And that's what I really got out of Chuck today. And I said, man, okay, I'm doing that from now on.
Yep. For me, there were 2 things. So if I can touch on 2 things, I really felt like having campaigns that are industry specific for your networking partners, right? Because you're selling through, not to.
Right.
But if I've got, so when I do try to do that, but I do it kind of on a one-on-one basis, right? If I've got an insurance partner, I try to hit on something that would make sense for them.
Right.
But in regards to everybody else, it's kind of homogenized. I kind of like, so I really do need to have, all of us, if we could have like 3 main things that we can go to, main topics, and then drill down with timely information on each one of those. So the other thing that he said that seems like it would take a ton of time, but probably is a really great touch point, and that's picking up the phone when you see that somebody isn't opening your emails.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the thing too is that, Chuck's doing it.
Yeah.
How many people out there aren't doing it, And again, we encourage to our audience that you guys, you need to get your CRM up to date. You need to invest in an automated email platform and do it. And then Chuck really kind of, made the big point, the big reminder there.
Yes, absolutely. And truly, I'm so thankful that Chuck was here because what he exemplifies is the networking drip.
Yeah.
Because I know other people in commercial cleaning, but I never see them anywhere. So they're not top of mind for me.
Right.
So if I have somebody who says, Sheryl, I really need to know a commercial cleaner, Chuck's the guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he's all about, again, of building relationships, And, Chuck's been over to my office several times. He makes comments on my LinkedIn profile, sends me an email. I mean, he's the real deal.
Yeah. And that is another great example of dripping. We could have a whole dripping through social media conversation. But thank you, Chuck. We just appreciate you. You are the bomb, man.
You're smart. You're watching this. But did you know that 2 out of every 3 Americans will deal with a legal issue this year? Half of those will spend 13 days working on those issues. At Empowered Advantage, we help with the stuff of life. Letter M as in marvelous, poweredadvantage.com.
All right, so let's talk about some best practices.
Okay.
Can we do that? All right, so I'm
all yours.
So HubSpot actually has a pretty good here's what I did. So if you want to know how I found this particular blog from HubSpot, I just put drip campaigns, pros and cons.
Oh, okay.
And so up came this particular discussion about pros and cons on drip campaigns. Here's some best practices. And I really like what they wrote about. So really being informative and keeping it short. Mm-hmm. What is short for you when somebody puts you on a drip? What's short?
I would say short would be 2 or 3 times.
Okay. I'm thinking short in regards to the information. So it says be informative and keep it short. The information. How much information in an email that's sent to you? I would
probably say 350 words or less.
That's a lot, but you're a reader.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a scanner. Yeah. So me like you to scan. So 350 if you're sending it to Rob. If it's me, I want a paragraph with maybe a couple of bullet points. That's it. I don't want any more than that. I'm not going to read any more than that.
Okay.
That's just me. Wow. I want a bullet point. I want something that looks really interesting. And then if you do want to do more, like I say, have a click and I'll go to your web page or whatever, an elongated version of that.
But you know what's the amazing thing there is the fact that when I go on and read some of these infomercials, and they're all from these internet gurus that are very, very successful, you can scroll for like 15 minutes before you get the call to action. And I've wondered here, like these guys are the gurus, and there's not just one, I'm talking about 10, 12 of these people.
Right.
They all do the same thing, and it takes you 15 minutes to get to the bottom. I'm going, well, I'm probably exaggerating, but I'm telling you, you're scrolling for a good 5 to scroll. And I'm going, you got to be kidding me. And so, I mean, that kind of blew me away or blows me away today.
So maybe you just need to know your audience. I think when in doubt, less is more. That's just how I feel about it. So
I totally agree with you there.
So number 2, include a call to action button.
Yep, need that.
Or question at the end of every email. Number 3, send your emails on Fridays. Now, I thought that was interesting because I'd always heard in the radio days, but again, this was, 9-10 years ago, Thursday was the day. That was the big open day, especially between 10 and noon.
Okay.
That's when we sent everything out. But maybe everybody gets wise to that. So now it's all Friday. I don't know. Number 4, A/B test send times. So number 5, track open rates, of course, click-through rates and click-to-open rates. Number 6, implement a follow-up sequence after no response. I think that's something I don't do that I should do.
Yeah.
So, and there's some tools, the drip tool, which you'll hear me talk about on the tech tools at the end of this. They do have, some of those email drip campaign software programs do have ways that you can isolate that. And so it's number 7, this is the last one, asking for feedback if your drip campaign is unsuccessful. How many people do you think really want to hear about, hear feedback on an unsuccessful campaign?
No. 0.
That's a big thumbs down if you're listening.
Yes.
That was a big thumbs
down.
So, I know if they're not opening it, I don't want to hear from them then. Right? So, however, I do have to tell you that, not that I'm offended or anything, but if somebody unsubscribes and I know they're a friend of mine, I want to know why.
Yeah.
Like, because I only send out an email like once every quarter. I mean, I should do it a lot more, but that's just kind of like once a quarter. And so when they unsubscribe, I'm like, what did I do?
But I agree with you there in the sense you do feel a little bit
offended.
Offended, yes. But because Sheryl, you think of all the networking we do and all the new people we meet, it's not again increasing our database. It's scaling it down. And so that's an easy way of just, one less person to contact.
Hey, thank you, friend, for unsubscribing because now you're one less friend that I have to worry about. So,
I might even take them off my Christmas card list too.
No,
Don't tell anybody that.
That's
though.
right. Here's something else too I'm going to throw in that I was reading when I was looking at pros and cons and things to do and what not to do. There are two different types of drip campaigns too in regards to frequency based on, so knowing your audience.
Right.
Are you B2C, meaning business to
Right.
customer, or are you B2B, meaning business to business,
Okay.
right? So if it's you and me, we're B2B. If it's you to your end user, your customer, then it's a B2C. So the B2C customers, they say you can get away with 2 times a week.
Okay.
B2B, 4 to 5 times a month max.
Yeah. I would totally agree.
Yeah.
with that.
So that's where so really about half. So
Yeah.
you can do double the number of B2Cs as B2B. So I thought that was a really good point for those, because I think sometimes you just get lumped into this general email drip campaign when you meet
Right.
somebody.
Right.
I know I had somebody that I met recently. I don't even remember them. Like, I don't know. Somehow I must have given them my card, or I got on a list, attendee sheet or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And they put me on their list. And
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't
that's
even know
happening
them.
to me quite more frequently now. I
I
got
just
one
think
today. I don't even know who the person is.
Do you unsubscribe?
Yeah. Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do too, because I'm like, you should ask me. Like, let's
Well,
have a chat and
and
then
the
ask
point
me.
too is that the test is if I unsubscribe, they're going to see that in the metrics. They're going to say I do that. Well, they can be offended.
Mm-hmm.
Or number 2 is since they really don't know me,
Mm-hmm.
call me up or give me a
Yeah.
one-on-one direct. Then you know they're a player.
Yeah.
They're worthwhile pursuing that relationship. So
Yeah. So this is all about relationship.
Yeah.
Every single ounce of this is all about
Right.
building a relationship. So
Yeah.
don't kill that relationship before it's begun.
right.
So, all right. So do we want to go into action items? Because this is, are we ready for action items?
Well, yeah. Well, let's kind of summarize a little bit, maybe.
Okay. All right.
What are kind of the golden nuggets that we want to share with our audience of why they need to do an email drip campaign?
Okay.
I'm going to start off with one is important because it helps you stay in touch with your audience.
Yeah.
If you don't, once you sell them something and you just don't do anything, that you're leaving yourself wide open for your competitor to come in. You're not building that loyalty there.
That's true. So the drip campaign isn't just a feel-good thing. Even if you feel like somebody's just seeing your name come up or your company name, it's that frequency that says, hey, I'm in business. You're a part of my life until you aren't.
Right. And you want to, a lot of these campaigns is from a content point of view, you want to bring value to your community as well.
Yeah.
You're not always trying to sell them something or whatever. Bring value, help them out, give them good advice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I do like drip campaigns that one of my girlfriends, Karen Kuski, does a really great job of having, and she has somebody else do it for her, but, or Karen Hartman, I'm sorry. She's married now. But Karen always has her flavor in that email, right? Whatever she's sending out, it's kind of her flavor.
Right.
And I think that's really important for it not to sound like it's just stock.
Right.
Copy and paste from
Right.
somebody else's, that you have your flavor in there.
Yeah. No, I think that's very important. Very important. So.
And that makes me want to read it more, that she was thoughtful. So which one are we on?
Well, we're number 2.
Okay, number 2. Don't drown the audience.
Yeah.
So we just talked about that, right? Don't 4 to 5 times a month.
Right. Yeah. Everybody just don't be doing it every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you and I have had somebody who's put us on a text list.
Right.
And I'm afraid to opt out. Like somehow I don't know why I'm afraid. Have you opted out?
I have not. No, I got one like yesterday.
So, and it's just on and on. It's never anything personal.
Right.
There's never, and it's been almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
And not a phone pickup and, hey, how are you doing? Let's get together and have a chat. Because that's a way that you can help identify where your problem is and be better moving forward. But that hasn't happened. And I continue to get this.
Right.
It's awkward. I don't know. I'm awkward. It feels awkward to me. I don't know. So anyway, but it comes weekly.
Yeah. Yeah. Weekly. Again, I think just the last point we want to share is just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Start off simple. You don't have to make it complicated, whatever. Just do it. You've got to get a campaign out there so that you're either touching new prospects, You're touching your customer base.
Yeah.
You're building your community. They got to hear from you.
Yeah. So staying in touch is part of that marketing, even if it's just a soft touch, even if it's just a paragraph.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So, all right. I like the drip, don't drown because I need to get back on my drip campaign list. And I need to do it so that it's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not just junk.
Right.
And I will, if I could just throw out a couple, I'd really like to know if you have a good email drip campaign software that you use. HubSpot and MailChimp are the two go-tos, I think, for most people. Oh, and then Constant Contact, which I think looks terrible.
We use MailerLite.
MailerLite.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Like Miller Lite, but mailer?
MailerLite, Lite.
Like Miller Lite, but mailer.
Yeah, but mailer. And we've been using it, I want to say 3 or 4 years. Very cost effective. Got all the automated features in there. Easy to use. So yes, I would encourage you to go check out MailerLite.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Do we have it as a resource on the Purple Cow branding?
We don't. That would be probably a good one. Kinsey, if you're listening to this, write that down.
Kinsey, when you're listening to this, write it down. Okay. So
that was actually point number 1 on our 3 action items today was find the right platform. So again, if you've got some experience by doing your own research or a friend recommending what Sheryl threw at you today, is find the right platform, and that steps right in. Number 2 is action item. Do it. If you're not doing drip campaigns right now, start right now. And number 3, what do we got?
It is building your email database.
Yes.
So, and what does that look like? So what if you have, like in our case, so I've got a transportation club. I've got mid-market professionals. I've got an old one from Thirsty Networker. I've got, I'm trying to think of, I know I've got another, Network Today, right? So we've got all of these different databases. So do I just lump them all in together, and what do I do?
Well, first of all, you want to have your main database of everybody. Okay. Number 1. And then number 2 is you want to segment that. And
how do I segment it?
Well, then you'll go into your platform, and then there's ways to group all those different clubs that you belong to.
But so when I put them in or when I import them, then they're going to be automatically have a column that shows which one. Right. So I could do a whole mass, or I could do something that's isolated or specific to that particular group. Yeah. What other database items do you need when you're creating your email database? What do you take? Do you get a company? Do you get their industry? Do you get their the level within the company, like C-level manager?
I'm still on the basic format. I just want their name, their email address, company name. That's it.
I just want to know that you fog a mirror and then you go on my email list.
Exactly.
I'd really like to become a little more sophisticated in that.
I would too, but I'm going to plan maybe 2023, but I'm still building my database this year and getting people in there. So we got to take baby steps.
That's right. If you are doing an email drip campaign or a drip campaign of any kind, we'd love to hear from you at info@networktodaydfw.com. And we want to make sure that you're subscribing. You know why to subscribe, because so many people say, why do I need to subscribe? I listen. Why do I need to subscribe? So when you go on the homepage of networktodaydfw.com, you're going to see the subscribe button, put in your email. So then you can get Rob's library. It's not just a view of his library, but it's a review of books. And I had a gal today she's newer into networking, and she's trying to be better. She said, I'm trying to read books. Do you have recommendations? And I said, I have a recommendation, and that's you follow Rob. So that's my recommendation.
Well, that's awesome. Great.
That's right. And then my tech tools. So that's it.
All right.
Yes, we're going to see you shortly, right? Next week, we've got an awesome guest and topic, and you have to tune in to find out, right? So
here we go.
Network Today, where we take you from meeting people to
making money.
That's right.
Boom.
See you next week.
This has been a Purple Cow production.